developmental petri dish that was Grand Theft Auto 4, there was perhaps no more potent contagion than the game's tendency to take itself way too fucking seriously, with extremely worthy contenders to its sandbox crime drama crown materializing in the form of sleeping dogs in the last two exceptional entries in the Saints Row franchise. Frankly, that was high ground Rockstar could no longer justify its morbid impulse to cling to. While GTA 5 still features more than a handful of needlessly sappy, quasi-pretentious interludes, I'm happy to report this game also sees the rebirth of batshit. Whether it's skydiving on an ATV, piloting government jets into buildings, getting higher than Peter Molyneux's forehead, and mowing down ceaseless waves of hallucinatory homicidal clowns, Grand Theft Auto is back, motherfucker, and I, for one, miss the shit out of you, GTA. Don't be a stranger. Though the most significant change is significant only at first glance. My first thought upon hearing of the addition of 3 individual player characters you're usually able to switch between on the fly was to suspect that it would present lucrative opportunities for non-Euclidean narrative experimentation. Hell, with 3 separate characters, each with their own unique story, occasionally intersecting with those of their counterparts, well shit, how could you not weave a rich, billowing tapestry of player choice and customizable narrative? I'll tell you how. You can be fucking Rockstar, that's how. The Grand Vizier of playing it safe.
I want you to know it. Practice safe sex.
So do I.
The studio that has slovenly rehashed the same haggard, cliche-bespeckled dark side of the American dream parable for 5 successive entries and half a dozen spin-offs. Oh, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Linearity is no longer a lamentable byproduct of GTA's open-world sandbox structure, people. It is officially a calculated, and let's come right the fuck out with it, inexcusably fucking lazy design choice. Want to progress the story? Better switch to the character whose icon is flashing to tackle said mission and progress the story and connect the dots linear fucking fashion. A gilded cage is still a fucking cage, Rockstar. As for the 3 characters, I can summarize them in fairly short order. Trevor is what happens when Rockstar's head writer watches too much Breaking Bad.
Fuck you! And your eyebrows!
Franklin is what happens when they watch too much The Wire. And Michael is what happens when they remember they're making a Grand Theft Auto game. And apparently Rockstar are huge Breaking Bad fans, because unless you're rocking Trevor, it is exceptionally likely that the 2 most frequently recurring items on your itinerary will be nothing and like it.
I want a hot dog, I want a milkshake.
You'll get nothing and like it!
Particularly poor neglected-ass Franklin, who might have had the potential to be my favorite character if Rockstar had seen fit to give him anything at all to fucking do. We get it. Trevor's a loose cannon, a free spirit. He plays by his own rules. But Rockstar, it is of paramount importance that as you feverishly fillet this character until he leaves a gland-shaped impression on your tonsils, you occasionally come up for goddamn air. Sure, Trevor's a badass, but I can dress Michael up to look exactly like Michael Douglas in Black Rain, so give me something to fucking do with him.
Fuck you very much.
You know, but all of these issues, minor as they admittedly are fucking secondary to the 900-pound simian pinching turds of the dining room table, who in 7 adjacent galaxies chose the last 2 miserable fucking GTA soundtracks.
This music's all fucking wrong! That's what I'm looking for!
You know, when it's not just me, when the track list was leaked a month ahead of the game, I can count the positive comments on one amputated hand. This shit isn't just subpar for GTA, it's subpar for Saints fucking Row. Saints Row, people! The series that thinks 12 tracks of Devil Driver and As I Lay Dying constitutes a metal radio station. I mean, at least they made a shitty, outdated attempt at a metal station. You fashioned a fictitious representation of Los Angeles, the birthplace of hair metal, and a city that, without even counting the half-dozen pirate stations, has at least one major metal station and no less than 3 rock stations that predominantly play classic metal. But does Los Santos have one? Fuck no. They don't even have a classic rock station, but at least the game has a funk station. Asshole, not only have I never heard a funk station, I've never heard of a funk station. I ask again, who picked this fucking soundtrack, and what is their obsession with Phil Collins, Stevie Nicks, and Queen? And this malaise isn't reserved for rock either. The pop songs are equally banal, even by pop standards. 5 games and still you've used just one Peter Gabriel song, and it was only in DLC? Where's Billy fucking Ocean? Where's Dale Bozzio? Where's a Michael Jackson song that isn't featured on Bad or Thriller? After 3 straight soundtracks that set trends, literally defining the musical taste of an entire generation of gamers, watching radio stations and subsequent iterations gradually disintegrate into the same vapid shit you've heard played over car commercials for the past 15 fucking years is a miserable disgrace. You aren't resting on your laurels at this point. You're locked down in your Craftmatic with a big gulp, a fistful of Cheez-Its and Maury Povich reruns, asshole. And with all of 2 talk radio stations at your disposal as an alternative to the shitty tunes, it further has a lamentable gameplay-related side effect of turning the mere act of driving into a full-on fucking chore. Tangerine Dream's original score for the game may well be the best in the entire series, so get off your ass, doff the fucking sweatpants, and give this superb game the soundtrack it fucking deserves. But I'm equally emphatic in my assertion that where GTA 5 is concerned, there is far more to be impressed with than to be bothered by. The cars no longer being constructed of tissue paper would be the top item on my list. Nothing was quite so frustrating in GTA 4 as finally gaming the vehicle spawn system and handing you a bitchin' sports car only to unwittingly tear the entire fucking fender off at a high-speed collision with a moth. Vehicular physics are still janky because Euphoria still fucking sucks, but being able to customize your ride to your heart's content more than offsets this potential irritant. Literally every aspect of play, from motorcycle handling to mini-games to character customization to sheer mission variety, has been short of all fat and pulled tighter than Bruce Jenner's cheeks. Everything that is except for helicopter flight. Pop quiz, guys and gals and gender non-specific minorities. However do you compound the universe-rending awfulness that is helicopter flight in the first 4 Grand Theft Auto titles?
Build a bridge out of her.
What is devoting an entire character to the principle of flying the goofy off-balance shit heaps, and then repeatedly requiring the player to perform the aviation equivalent of threading a needle with a mosquito's cock? How in fuck is Saints Row better than you at this? How is Saints Row better than you at anything under the yellow sun?
Step your game up.
You know, for all the upgrades, RPG stat systems, and impressively fleshed out minigames, it's impossible to escape the feeling that Grand Theft Auto 5's actual story is locked into a bit of a holding pattern. We get it, trying to get rich in America can occasionally suck. Dark side of the American dream. Tell another story, ass face. Ever read the headlines out of Tijuana? Every day in Mexico is Grand Theft Auto fucking 6. Maybe flip the roles for once and let the player be a rogue cop? It'd be one step closer to that open world sandbox Cobra game I've been wanting to play ever since I drew my first fucking breath. Set it in 85, turn it into a parody of action films for all I care. Just change it the fuck up once a decade or so, because while your gameplay pioneers new heights, your story is beginning to quote itself. Quoth the Razor, God fucking speed.
What we need to identify is a degree of authenticity and compassion in the way we deal with this problem. Otherwise, you just seem like you don't know what you're talking about.
The crime.
We've talked about them. You can tell what party they're in from their questions, innit?
What about the victims of the crime? This is a joke with no punchline.